This is how it ends for us. That's what Ava's father whispered into the phone the night before everything unraveled. It didn't sound like a threat. Not exactly. More like a farewell, cloaked in quiet dread. The next morning, Ava Wood, a bright, beloved 14-year-old girl, didn't show up to school. Her friends waited. Her teachers waited. Her mother waited. But Ava wouldn't be coming. Because sometime in the night of January 19th, 2023, inside the quiet village of Baldwinsville, New York, inside the home where Ava was supposed to feel safest, her father Christopher made a decision that stunned the entire nation. A murder-suicide. A young girl's life stolen by the one person she should have been able to trust above all. If you agree every child deserves safety at home, hit the like button. It began like any normal Friday at Durgee Junior High School. Classrooms buzzed with energy, teachers prepared lessons, but one seat, Ava's, remained empty. She wasn't the kind to skip. She was always early, always smiling. When her name didn't appear on attendance logs, the school followed standard procedure. They called home, no answer. At the same time, Ava's mom, Heather, was already trying to reach her daughter. Something didn't feel right. The phone call she'd received the night before from Christopher replayed in her mind again and again. This is how it ends for us. By 8:30 a.m., panic overtook instinct. Heather contacted the Onondaga County Sheriff's Office and begged them to check on the house. She gave them the address, the history, and her fear. Deputies arrived at the modest home on Triangle Place. It was quiet. Still, Heather handed them the key. What they found inside would haunt them forever. Ava was found unresponsive in her bedroom. In a nearby room, Christopher's body was also discovered. One of the responding officers would later say, "Even after all the years we've done this job, that scene was one of the hardest we've ever walked into. No one else was involved. Just a father and a daughter, and a final, irreversible act." Ava Julia Wood was the kind of girl people remembered. Her energy, her laugh, her kindness, it all lingered long after she left a room. She was born on June 20th, 2008, the only child of Heather and Christopher Wood. From the very beginning, she was adored. Her mother called her sunshine in human form. At school, Ava was a standout, not just academically, where she was an honor student, but as a teammate. She wore jersey number 18 with pride on Durgee Junior High's junior varsity soccer team. Coaches said she brought a fire to the field. Fierce when she needed to be, uplifting always. Her hard work earned her the Coaches Award in 2022, and it was no surprise to anyone. She later joined the Syracuse Development Academy, competing in the National Girls Academy League, taking her dreams beyond the local field, aiming higher every day. But Ava wasn't just an athlete or a student. She was the best friend you always wanted. She was the daughter who said, "I love you," every time she left the house. She and her mom shared a bond that went beyond words, a friendship built on bedtime talks, baking sessions, and text messages filled with hearts and emojis. Ava was joy, and someone's decision, someone she loved, ripped that joy away from everyone who knew her. She was only 14. Tell us in the comments, how do we protect children when danger comes from within the home? The house on Triangle Place was silent when deputies arrived that morning. No movement, no sound, only stillness. Inside, everything looked normal until they reached Ava's room. She was found lying in bed, still, cold, unresponsive. There were no visible signs of a struggle, no forced entry, just the quiet horror of what had happened behind closed doors. In another room, Christopher's body was discovered, alongside a weapon. Investigators later confirmed it had been legally purchased by him just 2 weeks prior. The scene was ruled a murder-suicide. Ava had been killed in her sleep. He waited until she was most vulnerable, peaceful. Then he pulled the trigger, not just on her life, but on his own. There were no notes, no explanation left behind. Only silence, grief, and a house full of ghosts. To the outside world, Christopher Wood was just another father. A little reserved, maybe distant, but never violent. But the truth had been unraveling long before that final night. In March 2022, Ava's mother, Heather, had already gone to police. Christopher had been stalking her, showing up unannounced, calling obsessively, even using apps to track her location. She filed a complaint, but authorities said it wasn't enough for charges. And then, months later, the anonymous texts started. Angry, invasive, deeply unsettling. Heather believed they came from him. The tone, the timing, it all felt too familiar. She went back to the sheriff's office. Another complaint, another investigation. But again, no solid proof, no charges. Heather had tried to warn them. She had begged for help, but the system failed her. And more importantly, it failed Ava. If this part breaks you too, and you believe these red flags should have been enough, hit the like button. The night before the murder, Christopher called Heather directly. His voice wasn't aggressive this time. It was flat, distant. Then he said, "This is how it ends for us." Heather didn't know what it meant. She wanted to believe it was just another passive-aggressive comment, an emotional outburst, something to be dismissed. But that phrase stuck with her all night. And by the time she called police the next morning, it was too late. That call was the moment everything turned. The one warning that carried the weight of finality. But it wasn't clear until the silence came. No one, not even the most seasoned officers, could have predicted the ending. But Heather knew somehow. She knew. And when the door opened that morning and they walked into Ava's room, the weight of that phrase crushed them all. If you're still watching and you want to see more true stories that expose the silent horrors behind closed doors, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. Some cases aren't just disturbing, they're unforgettable. Why would a father do this? Why would Christopher Wood, a man with no criminal record, no public signs of violence, murder his own daughter in cold blood? The answer may never be fully known, but what we do know paints a portrait of a man spiraling behind the mask of normalcy. After the separation, Christopher became obsessed with control, not just over Heather, but over the narrative of their family. He stalked, he harassed, he refused to let go. To him, the breakdown of their marriage wasn't a chapter ending. It was an existential collapse. Ava, once the center of his world, had become a symbol of everything he was losing. And in his disturbed, self-centered mind, if he couldn't have that life, no one could. His final words to Heather, "This is how it ends for us," weren't just about a marriage. They were about ownership, closure, a toxic sense of finality. This wasn't just a murder, it was a punishment, one rooted in twisted love, rejection, and unchecked mental decay. What do you think pushes someone to take a life they helped create? Tell us your opinion in the comments below. When the news broke, Baldwinsville froze. Ava Wood wasn't just another student. She was the girl who brought joy into every hallway, every classroom, every field she stepped on. On the afternoon of January 20th, 2023, Durgee Junior High School sent out an email to every family in the district. It is with great sadness and a very heavy heart that I inform you of the tragic loss of 9th grade student Ava Wood. Teachers cried, students sobbed, the school canceled activities. The soccer field where Ava once played now felt hollow. One student said the principal tried to read the news aloud but broke down. A police officer had to finish reading it for him. Vigils began almost immediately, outside her home, at school, at the church Ava attended with her mom. On January 27, hundreds lined up in the freezing cold to pay their respects. The next day, her funeral filled every corner of Word of Life Assembly Church. Days later, a memorial bench was placed at the stadium Ava once called home. On it were the words, "Stand strong and make them wonder how you're still smiling." That's who Ava was, a girl who loved fiercely, who played passionately, who never left without saying, "I love you." She lived only 14 years, but left behind a legacy of laughter, strength, and light. And while her story ended in tragedy, the silence she left behind screams for change, for better laws, earlier interventions, in a world where children are never left vulnerable to the very people meant to protect them. If this story haunted you like it haunted us, and you want to see more disturbing cases that stay with you long after the video ends, hit the subscribe button and don't forget to turn on the notification bell.